Hey everyone, it's Jody here. Making another video. It's been a few weeks since I did my surgery anniversary of being on testosterone for 6 years. So go check out that video. It's not super exciting, but it might spark some interest for you guys and stuff like that. I'm doing this video today because I want to talk about what led me up to my decision of having a hysterectomy and like that process that I went through. And so let's just dive on into it because there's going to be a lot to unpack, I feel. So I had my hysterectomy March 8th this year, so 2019, just a few months ago. And what led me up to that was in early 2017, I was looking into harvesting my eggs. And then was getting my ovaries, ultrasound, and going through that process and figuring out my options through the VA clinic. And I was talking to an endocrinologist at the VA, and she was like helping me work through that situation and stuff like that. And then I found out that my ovaries were still in good condition, that if I stopped taking hormones, I could probably harvest some eggs at some point in time fairly easily. But upon that news, a couple months after that, in August of 2018, like late August of 2018, I had my wellness check, and which means I had a pap smear done to make sure that I didn't have like anything wild and crazy going on, because in my family we have a history of various cancers and stuff like that, and I know that being on testosterone and being the body that I have and with the reproductive organs that I have, it can cause complications. By talking to many trans guys and just like listening to my doctor, knowing that there could be a lot of health risks. So I always wanted to make sure that I was good there. So I did my wellness checks based on my age, stuff like that. So it had come around to this time, and a few weeks later, stupid cat, I ended up finding out that I had HPV. I'm not going to try the name because it is horribly long, the second part, and so I'm just going to put a link, some info down below about the name of it and stuff like that. But basically what HPV is it's an STI, or a sexually transmitted infection, or an STD as some people still refer to it as, which is sexually transmitted disease. And it is kind of the start of either cancerous cells or of like genital herpes or genital warts. I know that within the last year, they have a vaccination for it for people between 14 and like 20 something. I think it's like 25. And so that's really cool to know, because when I found out I had HPV, that was still like in its like baby phase. So it's kind of cool to see how far it's come. But anyway, besides that point, found out I had HPV. So then my doctor that I was seeing at the VA clinic here said that I needed to go get some biopsies done. So living in Idaho, Salt Lake City, Utah has the closest VA hospital. So I went down there and I had some biopsies taken out of my uterus. That day that I did that was not as uncomfortable for me as I thought that it would be, but for the doctor, because I don't think that my doctor informed the person that it was going to be a trans male coming in for this procedure and not a female-bodied human being. And so we had like a moment where she kind of was a little awkward with me, but she had like that moment of like, I need to remain professional, took a deep breath, and then just continued as she normally would, which was super cool. The most awkward moment for me was that she was having issues taking the biopsies. Apparently my genitals aren't as elastic as they used to be, as she put it, and she was using the smallest forceps, and she was just having a hard time. So that made it more uncomfortable. It was an in and out procedure, and so I didn't need to take off any time from work or anything like that. I was able just to carry on without any issues. And so then I had to wait a little while, and I found out a month or so later that one quadrant of my uterus did have precancerous cells in it, on it. And so I needed to take the next step, which would be a leap, and I can't even remember what that stands for, so I'll look it up and put it also in the description below for you guys to look at. And so November of 2017, I had a LEAP procedure done at the same VA clinic with the same doctor I had done with the biopsies. And basically, what she did was that she burned my uterus and destroyed and killed the precancerous cells that were on that part of my uterus. It was super uncomfortable. I have been to Iraq. I know what, burning flesh smells like, unfortunately, at this point. And so it was like really took me back a long way when I had that done, to when I was in Iraq. And then it made me really uncomfortable with my body and the situation that I felt I was in, because my life would just be easier if, for various reasons. And so I just went on this like negative downward spiral after finding out that I had HPV. After I had the LEAP done, I just went like in this like kind of like beating myself up over this situation, and it took me, and then my relationship was ending, so then there was that whole situation I was dealing with on top of that, and I just felt really defeated, and it was mentally taxing, and I just felt crappy about my situation. And I said, if I wouldn't have waited so long to maybe have a hysterectomy, then I wouldn't be going through this situation, which may or may not have been true. I will never know. But I mean, I at least wouldn't probably have had uterus cancer or pre-uterus cancer cells, and stuff like that. And so I just beat myself up for even fathoming that I needed to keep my like uterus and my ovaries to have children. And I was able to kind of work through that and, be like, no, like I'm proud of who I am. I'm glad that I didn't do anything drastic, and I waited because that's what I wanted to do, until I was comfortable with being okay with not having biological children or like adopting and stuff like that. And I just went through this whole like emotional work on my own, and I kind of talked to my sister a little bit about like having HPV and, and how that affected me and like what I thought about having children at that point, which I was decided that I was okay with adopting children and stuff like that, and maybe more age appropriate children since I'm 35. And, I don't necessarily know if I want to go through a baby phase. I have 3 nephews. I went through a baby phase with them, and I think I could live without that phase. And so in 2018, like fall, like late fall, I want to say, I met up with my doctor and I said, hey, what are my options for having a hysterectomy? I think I just want to go through that process. I'm ready for that. And he connected me with another doctor, a surgeon that does hysterectomies in town at the hospital that is here in Pocatello. And so I met up with this surgeon in November 2008, and I didn't have a medical or insurance need to do it before 2019, and so we postponed that. And so I went through the whole process just early this year. So I'm going to cut it there. If you guys have any questions for me, please let me know if I didn't go into enough detail for you guys with my process that I went through. In any way, if you guys want more details, let me know and I can make another video about specific things. But I did try to give you a good overall of like my process and like kind of what led me up to having a hysterectomy. And then my next video is going to be on having a hysterectomy and all the crazy things that have happened in the last few months. So check you guys later. Peace.